Hey y'all, it's your girl, Dr. J, back with another episode of Let It Flow with Dr. J. I stopped by to tell y'all that in 2024, what we will not do is allow people to continue to hold our past over us. We will no longer allow people to take up space in our lives who their only reason for being there is to remind us of all of our mistakes, to remind us of who we once were, to remind us of all the things that we used to do, the dirt that we used to do, and the person we used to be. It's time out for that. It's time out for allowing people to still have access to us who no longer serve a purpose in our lives, who do not add value to our lives. It's time out for that, y'all. There's not one of us who walks God's green earth that has not sinned, that has not fallen short, that has not made mistakes, that doesn't have skeletons in our closets. Like everybody has something. Everybody has stuff that they have done in their lives, things that they have said in their lives that wasn't your brightest moment. That wasn't the best thing that you could have said or did. We all do. None of us are perfect. We are imperfect people who serve a perfect God. And so we have to stop allowing people to come into our lives, I don't care who they are, and take us back to spaces, places, things, people, situations that we used to be okay with, that we used to be involved with, things that we used to do. We got to stop allowing those people to take us back to those places and to keep putting stuff in front of us that we no longer are associated with, things that are no longer a part of our lives, people who are no longer a part of our lives. We have to stop that. And the saddest part about it is a lot of times the people who come back and they want to hold your past over you, they want to remind you of the person you used to be, the things that you used to do, are sometimes the people that's closest to us. Sometimes it's your family. Sometimes it's a friend. Sometimes it's the person that you grew up with that you've known since y'all used to play in the sandbox together. And so sometimes we feel like because it's those people that we have to be accepting of certain things. We have to allow certain things. We got to keep them in our lives because that's family, you know. Well, that's your cousin, that's your daddy, that's your mama, that's your sister. And so what? If they are coming into your life and the only thing that they do anytime that you see them, anytime that you cross paths with them, is remind you of your stuff. It's to continue to put stuff in front of you and make you feel bad, make you feel small, make you feel like you haven't grown into the man or woman that you are today, that you haven't changed your life, that God hasn't done a good thing, a new thing in you. They got to go. Let me say it again. They got to go. Because the thing about it is, when you know that God has brought you a mighty long way, when you know that God has cleaned you up inside, washed you white as snow, when you know that God has healed you, He's healed your heart, He's mended those broken pieces in you, He's fixed you up inside, He's purged you of a lot of the things that you once used to have in you. When you know what God has done for you, when you know where God has brought you from, you can't allow people to continue to have access to the new you. You can't allow people to come in and say things and do things to get you off track or to put you in a negative and depressed state. You cannot allow that. And there are some people that when they see that glow that God has on you, when they see that, oh, wait a minute, they got a different walk about them. They talk different. They smell different. They don't look the same. When they start seeing, oh, they look like they doing good. They got this going on and that going on. Then they want to come in and say, well, I remember when you used to sell dope. I remember when you were promiscuous. I remember when you were somebody's pusher. I remember when you were sleeping with every Tom, Dick, and Harry, when you couldn't keep your legs closed. I remember when you used to have anger issues. You'll pop off on everybody. Anybody can get it. You'll fight at everybody in the whole room. I remember when. I remember you when you used to be the person that we could depend on if we was ready to go to the club, if we was gonna drink all night, if we was gonna be rolling in the house at 7 o'clock in the morning because we've been out drinking, smoking, partying, having a good time. They remember that you because that's who they're familiar with. The new you, Where you are right now, they are unfamiliar with that girl. They're unfamiliar with that guy because all they know, all they've had access to for the past few years or however long that you've known them was the person that they knew back then. The person that they knew when you were doing your dirt and the person that they may have been doing some of that dirt with. That's who they know. That's who they know. And so that's who they feel most comfortable with. That's who they feel is the person that they want to stay connected to. That's the person that they want to have the attachment to because that's who makes them feel good. And you sometimes have people that because you were in a low place, because you were always the mess up, because you were always the person that was doing dirt and that was making them look good because of all the bad decisions that you made, they want to keep you in that space to make themselves look good and feel good. But when you rise above, when God changes your life, when he gives you a new song, they don't recognize that and they don't like that. You too different. You acting funny. You acting brand new. Well, baby girl, baby boy, I am brand new. God gave me a new walk. He gave me a new talk. He gave me a new song. I'm not the person that you used to know me as. I'm not the person that you probably was running the streets with. I'm not the person that I once was. But that's who you want me to be. And if we allow those people to continue to come into our lives and talk to us certain ways, show us certain things, be around us in certain spaces, or to bring us back to certain places, to put certain roots in our head, plant certain seeds in our head, plant certain thoughts in our head, that we're going to ultimately end up going back to the person that we was and doing the things that we once were doing because we're allowing them access. We're allowing them opportunities to come in to talk to us, to be around us, to continue to remind us and to continue to put the things in front of us that we have actually been brought out of because we're still granting them access. We're still allowing them to be present in our lives when they no longer serve a purpose. And we have to be careful about that. We have to be careful with those kinds of people because one thing about me, I'm a graciously remove you from my life. I'm a graciously bow out from this conversation. I'm a graciously going about my business because I don't have time for anyone or anything that's going to take me back to the place that I once was in. And another thing, you don't have to remind me of who I was. You don't have to remind me that every Friday, Saturday, I was beating the club doors down. I was out there. You didn't have to ask me what I was doing. You already know I was going to be at the club. First hour that I'm in, I already had 5 drinks. Next thing you know, I'm in the middle of the dance floor screaming, hey, having a good time. And then in church on Sunday, yeah, that was me. That was me. That was the girl that had that real funky, nasty attitude. Didn't care how anybody felt about my attitude. Had anger issues. Had all of my mess going on inside of me. Yeah, that was me. That was me. That was the one that didn't mind doing a little ride with one of my friends if we had to, get some straightening. That was me. That was Toot from the West Side. That was me. I remember who I was. I guarantee you. I remember who I was because I remember where God brought me from. I remember God rescuing me. I remember God taking the time to stoop down to my level to raise me up, to show me better, to put me on a better path. I remember that. So what I'm not going to allow you to do is to come back and continue to tell me, I remember when you had a bad attitude. I remember when you used to be shaking your butt in the clubs every weekend. I remember when you was doing this. Okay, and so what? I was there. I'm me. I get it. I understand. I know what you know. But this person right here, this woman right here, that's who you don't know. That's who you haven't had a chance to meet because you're so focused on what I used to do, where I used to go, who I used to be, the relationships that I used to be in, the people that I used to allow to have access to me. You're so used to that. You're so used to that girl. You're so used to who I used to be that where I am right now, I'm on a whole different level, a level that you can't even think about or imagine being on. I'm not the same girl. But I'm not going to allow anybody to take me backwards. I'm not going to allow anybody to make me feel bad about cleaning up my life, to make me feel bad about the new song that I have. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit back and be okay with you casting judgment on me, throwing stones at me for my sins, because that makes you feel good. I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to stop you in your tracks. And like I said before, I'm going to graciously bow out. I'm going to graciously remove myself from this conversation and any involvement with you, because I don't need to constantly be reminded every time you see me that I used to be a mess. I'm not going to be reminded every time you see me that I used to do certain things. I used to talk a certain way. I used to be in certain spaces. I used to do all of this stuff. I'm not going to be constantly reminded of my past, of my sins, of all the stuff that I've done. Because when I confessed my sins to God and when God forgave me, He's not even thinking about all of that. So why should I be thinking about it? Why should you be thinking about it? But as humans, sometimes people feel like it's their duty to remind people of who they were, to stand in judgment of people, to cast stones, to discuss your sins out loud, but make sure they discuss theirs in private, if they discuss them at all. But they want to be real loud when it comes to you. They real outspoken. They clear their throat when it comes to you and your business and your past and all the things that you have done every time that you have messed up. They're really loud. They got a megaphone. They telling everybody. They telling everybody. But when it comes to their dirt, when it comes to their stuff, when it comes to their mess ups, you don't hear them. You still, wait, wasn't you at the club with me? Wasn't you smoking weed with me? Wasn't you slanging on the same corner as me? Wasn't you out there sleeping with a whole bunch of people with me? We might not have been doing in the same bed, but you were still out there doing the same kinds of things that I was doing. It's just that God has delivered me. I have allowed him to come into my life. I've welcomed him into my life to turn my life around, to make sure that I'm not walking continuously in my past, but I'm leaning into my future and to the woman of God that he is calling me to be. And I'm leaning into helping to transform the lives of other people and to make a kingdom and community impact with my life, with everything that he's placed inside of me. But again, you don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about the fact that God said in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17, therefore, if any man be in Christ, he is a new creature. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. You don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about me being a new creation. You don't want to talk about where God has brought me from and how he saved me. You want to talk about the good things that have happened in my life and the changes that God has made in my life, because that does not feel comfortable. It doesn't feel good. It does not make you feel like, man, I really know that person. I'm connected to that person. It makes you feel like, I don't like you. And because you've changed, I don't like you. But what we're not going to do in 2024 is bring those people with us. We are cutting off the access that those people have to us. We are not allowing them to come into our lives and help us or try to make us detour and take a path that we once took before, or even go to a whole new low place. We are not allowing those people to continue to be present in our lives. They hold no weight. They have no reason for being here. They serve no purpose, and they do not add value to your life. So stop allowing those people to have access. Stop answering the calls. Stop going out to dinner with them. Stop texting with them. Stop being in the group chat with them. Stop the communication with them. Because if all they can talk about is your mess and your mess ups, your messiness, your sins, your past, the person that you once were, then that's the person they need to stay attached to, is the old you. And you have left him or her behind. You know what you used to do. You know what you used to be. You know what you have gotten delivered from. And you can share that testimony. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start to dwell in places where people are wanting you to only see your past hurt, your past shame, your past disappointments, your past mistakes, they want you to dwell in those negative spaces. That's when you have to say enough is enough. I'm cutting you off. You do not have any room, any space. I don't have any vacancies in the inn. There's nothing that you and I need to talk about until you get yourself together and you realize that I'm not who I used to be, and I'm not going to allow you to take me back to who I used to be. And yes, we have our moments. We have our moments. I definitely have my moments sometimes in traffic when people acting a fool, where you like, wait a minute, woo, hold on. I'm saved, but don't play with me. You have your moments. You have your moments. Again, that goes back to us not being perfect. That goes back to us every day we fall short. But we still know that we have come a mighty long way and we are not who we used to be. And we have to walk in that. We have to be in a space where we know and we believe that who I used to be and what I used to do is not the same person as who I am in this moment. So you got to allow God to introduce you to some new people, to put you in new places, to create new opportunities for you, new connections, new networks for you, to where you are among people where you can thrive, you can grow, that you can walk into the person that he's calling you to be and the woman and man that you are striving to be without feeling apologetic for your past, without even, you don't even have to deny who you once were. I owned my stuff. You hurt me. I just owned a lot of this stuff in the ways that I was. And I have no shame in owning that girl. But what I'm also going to do is introduce you. If you're supposed to have space in my life, you're going to know who I am in this moment. I have no problem with sharing my testimony and where God has brought me from. But what I'm not going to do is sit back and kick it with somebody who I used to kick it with back in the day that only wants me to be the old person that I used to be. I'm not doing that. So like I said, in 2024, let's cut this off. Let's let this go. Let's let these people go. And let's walk into who we are and who God has called us to be unapologetically. Let's focus on the plan that he has for our lives in this moment and where he's seeking to take us. Let's focus on our current and our future and letting go of everything from our past, everybody from our past that, again, no longer serves purpose, no longer adds value, and does not have space in our lives for us to be who we are right now and to do the things that God has called us to do. Let's not have any space for those people that want to take us backwards. All right, y'all. It's your girl, Dr. J. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace and love, y'all. Be blessed.